Hey gang, this is Ian with Humbucker Soup. Today we're going to look at inversions, and we're going to think about what inversions mean and how to start to access those in different places, looking at certain chord shapes that we can start to use to incorporate into our everyday playing. We're also going to look at how inversions can inform different and interesting types of arrangements and how they can even spawn new ideas with riffs and melodies based around these inverted chords. So let's get started. So what is an inversion? An inversion is when you take the notes of a chord and rearrange them into a different order. So let's start by a simple triad, which is the first, third, and fifth note in a scale. Let's take A major, and you're going to have an A, C sharp, and an E. That's your first, your third, and your fifth note. Now, an inversion is to just change the order of those three notes. We're going to start with the first inversion, which is when you take the third and you put it on the bottom. So now you have a third, a fifth, and a one. The second inversion is when you take the fifth and you put it in the bass. So now you have a 5, a 1, and a 3. These chords are available to us in a minor fashion. 1 minor third, 5. And you can add sevenths as well. But we're already playing these chords all the time. It's just a matter of starting to map out where they are on the fretboard and how we can use them in a musical context. So with these first examples, we're looking at a really tight arrangement where we take a note and then the next sequential note within the scale is the one that we use. For instance, in that A major, that's the next C sharp available. But what if we separate those by adding some space with an octave? For instance, we can take a C sharp here and play this inversion, or we can take the C sharp down here and play that inversion, which creates a lot of space and almost like a left hand on a piano and a right hand playing a melody. So that gives you a lot of room for movement in that bass. Let's think about how we can do that with a couple of shapes. So we've looked at how to play these shapes down here in a tight arrangement. For a looser arrangement, we're going to look at a couple places to do so. The first one is to take a first inversion, and we're going to look at this D shape that we already know. And that thumb playing that F sharp is actually creating a first inversion because that's the third of the note. So what we're going to do is learn how to fret that in different areas. So we're going to look at E major, and the third of that is this G sharp. So we're going to take our middle finger to play that G sharp, and we're going to use our ring finger and our pinky to play the 5 and the 1 here on the third string and the fifth string, third string and the second string. So that's our 5 and our 1, and our bass is being played by the middle finger. So you have a 3, 5, 1. This is a really great arrangement because now you have this sense of space between this G sharp and this B and this E that can be moved around really well. You can make it a minor by simply moving that third down a half step. And it can be really helpful to move around the shapes, around the fretboard. So let's take this E, and let's take a 4 chord and do the same thing. So now you have the C sharp played here on the bass, and then that 5 and the 1 above it. You can do the same thing over the 5 chord, like that. So there are a few different arrangements that we can use that employ this. Let's look at how to take these inversions and apply them into a musical context. So we've broken down what an inversion is by looking at how triads can be rearranged in different orders, and we've looked at how to do those in a tight fashion with sequentially occurring notes and how to separate those with space by different versions of the same chord. Let's look at how we can use that in a musical setting. The first thing we want to do is look at a sort of tight arrangement and how to apply that in a musical setting. The needs of the setting are going to be dictated by the song, but let's say we're playing a funk song that just needs a percussive rhythm guitar. Let's say we're playing a C to an A minor, to a C again, to a D minor. I'm going to loop that, so it's a C. I can play an arrangement that really has minimal movement. So what I'm doing there is just focusing on economy so that I'm only moving just one note at a time. And I'm using an inversion to create that arrangement as tight as possible. Let's think about a way that we can use that idea, but with the other version of an inverting chord. So in the opening example, I was playing a chord progression that had a lot of movement, a lot of space between the chords. So that A minor to an E is a really big move, right? And then after that we go to a C, another pretty big move. So A minor, E feels very dramatic. C feels like we've taken a left turn, and then D7 feels like we're really climbing. And then to that F, it feels like, where are we going, right? Well, by creating a bass line that moves chromatically and subtly, we're creating a sense of tension and movement that wants resolution. And the way I'm doing that is by inverting the chords so that the bass can move in a sequential fashion. So the first chord is an A minor played like this, and the second chord is that E dominant with a first inversion, because you have that G in the bottom. Then the second chord, or third chord, is a G over that C, so you have a second inversion of the C. And then the next chord is this D with that F sharp in the bass. And then finally we have an F played normally and an E played normally. So what you're hearing is a sense of chromatic movement. This can be a really effective way to create an arrangement that has, let's say, subtlety and subtle movement, but still has the same dramatic purposes of the composition. So instead of playing, I can go, which can be just a different effect. And ultimately the goal is just to be intentional about what effect we're going for as arrangers. And we've looked at these different inversions and these different places to play the same kind of chord in different ways, which is a great way to develop our skill set as guitarists and to be expressive and individuals. And that's the goal here at Humbucker Soup, is to use the instrument to be expressive and as unique as we can be while staying true to the form. So thanks for practicing and watching with us. We'll see you next time on Humbucker Soup.